What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So even though some pending restricted free agents have signed in the last couple weeks or months, looking at guys like Matt Coronado about a week ago, Wyatt Johnston signed like the day of the trade deadline, we still have some big names that are restricted free agents this summer that are going to get absolute bags and are in the process of making even more money. I'm looking at a guy like Matthew Knies. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to go through kind of like 12 to 15 of the top restricted free agents this summer and kind of predict what their contracts are going to look like. I do this like every 2 months for the most part. I'll probably do the restricted free agents today, then unrestricted either a couple days from now or like a week from now. A lot more unrestricted free agents are still in the playoffs, so I might actually hold off on that. Meanwhile, a lot of the restricted guys are on teams that don't make the playoffs because usually they're high draft picks that are coming up on a potential deal. But yeah, we're going to go through what I think. This is assuming that they're going to re-sign with their team as well. I'm not going to be like throwing out offer sheets for some of these guys, although I think offer sheets are definitely possible. But yeah, let's dive into it. And without further ado, we're going to talk about the guy that I just mentioned, Matthew Knies. I'm going to say 8 years. If it's going to be an 8-year deal, I'm going to go $8.5 million. Yes, it's going to be a little bit of a cap crunch this summer to potentially keep their other two unrestricted free agents as well that we're going to talk about in a different video. Matthew Knies, you got to lock him up. Although maybe I wouldn't hate the idea of a 2 to 3 year bridge, but even then he's going to want like $6.7 million because what he did this season was so impressive in terms of 29 goals, 29 assists, 58 points. And if you did bridge him, it's not like you have like a 2 to 3 year window. You still have like 5 to 6 years. After that bridge, he would need like 10, 12, $11 million if he continues to progress the way that we think it's possible. 6'3", 230 pounds, 29 goals, 29 assists, 58 points as a 2021 draftee. This year in the playoffs, 5 goals, 7 points in 9 games. As I mentioned, maybe next year won't be worth $8.5 million, but in no time, this would turn into a damn good deal, exactly like what happened with the other Toronto Maple Leafs that signed when they were restricted free agents. They were higher level prospects. But yeah, Knies, lock him the hell up. He is that special of a talent, a unicorn in terms of those power forwards that are so valuable. Come playoff time, might not always have the most gaudy regular season totals on this deal, but in the playoffs, you know that Matthew Knies is showing up and being an absolute menace. Next up, K'Andre Miller of the New York Rangers. I'm going to go 2 years at $5.25 million. The Rangers are in a pretty tight spot. They have $8.4 million in salary cap space, and they have Miller as well as Will Cooley as restricted free agents, who we're going to talk about next. So I think Miller, 2-year deal, still would be an RFA after this. If it was a 3-year deal, that would walk him to unrestricted free agency. You obviously don't want to do that. He gets a decent raise from his $3.8 million that he was making on his prior deal. And although he was amazing with Adam Fox this year, they had like a 66.7% expected goals percentage and like 61% goals percentage. That was with Adam Fox, and outside of Adam Fox, he wasn't that remarkable. But still, I think you give him a raise, you make it work, and then in 2027, when he would be a restricted free agent still, you'd have, I believe, Kreider off the books, Panarin would be making less, and you could give him that 7-8-year deal by then at around $7.58 million if he continues to show up in a big way. So I think 2 years, $5.25 million makes solid sense for both parties. Next up, Will Cooley. What are they going to do with that remaining $8.4 million? Give it to Will Cooley, a 2-year deal, $3.15 million. This would be a damn good deal if he's the player that he was in the first half of the season when he was on pace for like 60 points. He did slow down. This is his first deal, I believe, off his ELC, so he can't really demand too much. Give him a 2-year deal. If he continues to rise up that lineup, he'll get a payday in 2 years from now. It's a similar deal to what Kakko and Lafreniere, I think they were actually like $2.5, $2.2 million, so a little bit higher than that. For Mr. Will Cooley. Marco Rossi, I will go with a 3-year deal at $6.25 million. A lot of uncertainty around Marco Rossi. Basically, for the last year, you've been hearing trade rumors around him. If they don't believe that he's the number 2 center of the future, you're obviously not going to give him some kind of 7-8-year deal that he would rightfully so want, like $7.58 million. I'd be willing to do that personally, but I don't expect it to happen. This year, 24 goals, 60 points in 82 games. A little bit undersized, but extremely skilled. So bridge him, punt it down. You could always trade him at some point. He has a shit ton of value to get him more experienced second line center, and I think a bridge at 6.25, maybe $6.5 million makes sense for both parties. It's not like he has some long track record to demand a shit ton. Gabe Valardi up next to the Winnipeg Jets. I shall go with 5 years, $7.5 million. When looking at this, if they want to do an 8-year deal, I think it would be north of $8 million. Valardi was awesome this season, on pace for like around 75 points. He was great. He is perfect with Scheifele and Kyle Connor. Not the fastest player of all time. He's pretty goddamn slow, but extremely skilled. Great net front presence. And for Winnipeg, their guys tend to stay post Jacob Trouba, tend to sign long long-term deals like a Scheifele, like a Hellebuck, this would be a win-win, medium-sized term for Gabe Valardi and the Winnipeg Jets. He could still cash in at 30, 31 years old as a restricted free agent. Next up, J.J. Peterka. I shall go with a 2-year deal at $6.5 million, roughly the Marco Rossi deal. Did you know that he had 27 goals, 68 points this year in like 77 games? He was absolutely great for the Buffalo Sabres. He was playing a shit ton, like 18 minutes a night on that top line, but after last year having 28 goals, 50 points, if it was a long-term deal, again, he's going to want $8 million probably on it. He would want on an 8x8 considering he's a 2020 draftee. I don't know if the Buffalo Sabres would be willing to do that, willing to give him more than a guy like Tage Thompson, but Tage Thompson's deal is like one of the best in the NHL. So I think a bridge here would make sense. There were trade rumors around the deadline. I remember Frank Saravalli was like the New York Rangers are in the process of potentially acquiring Peterka. They shot those down after, but if a long-term extension has not been signed at this point, especially considering they gave like Cousins and Thompson before even their contract year, they gave them that, or like entering the, you know what I mean, like September or October of before their contract year. But yeah, if they haven't done this quite yet with Peterka, I think that it seems like both parties are more interested in a bridge. So 2 years, $6.5 million, a hefty price tag considering his production has been so good. Unlike Rossi, not a third year, just a second year. Next up, Evan Bouchard. I'm going to go 8 years, $10 million. It's been a back and forth season for Evan Bouchard. He's like the peak eye test versus analytics, very inconsistent, but at the end of the day, he is one of the best offensive defensemen in the NHL. He tends to rise in the playoffs. Those 2 goals in Game 4 to avoid the 3-1 lead was absolutely insane. Probably made a couple $1 million off that. And yeah, just what he's done in the playoffs has warranted a deal like this. And even the regular season this year, although it was a down year compared to last year, he was on pace for like 70-ish points. He's not as bad defensively as people make it out to seem. He definitely benefits a lot defensively from playing with a guy like Matthias Ekholm. But yeah, for a guy that's 25 years old, lock him up on this deal at $10 million. In worst case scenario, he's a good 70-ish point guy the rest of his career throughout this, and in year 3 or 4 of that deal, that's okay at $10 million. It has the potential to be an absolute steal if he returns to form that he was more so last year, but again, in the playoffs this year, he's been pretty solid outside of some dumb turnovers. Definitely should get more than like a Moritz Seider and Brock Faber, considering his track record. Moving over to the island, Alex Romanov. I'm going to go with a 4-year deal at $5 million. He was very good for this team, especially when they had injuries. There was a stretch from late December to early May where he had 16 points in 23 games, playing 24 minutes a night. He was their pseudo number 1 defenseman at times, so I don't think you give him some kind of like 8-year deal at $6.5 million, but 4 years, $5 million for his age 26 to 29 season, I think is pretty damn good. He honestly might demand more, so maybe like 5.2, 5.5. But if I'm the Islanders, I'm trying to get him at $5 million. Also for the New York Islanders, my guy Simon Holmstrom, I bet you didn't know that he had 20 goals, 25 assists, 45 points. I think you sign him on a 3-year deal at $4.5 million, kills penalties for you. Solid 2-way player, more so defensive, but again, 20 goals this season kind of out of nowhere. Was very, very impressive. Bowen Byram of the Buffalo Sabres. I'm going to go 2-year deal at $5 million. Not sure they're too keen on giving another left-handed defenseman that's around in their mid to early 20s a 7+ year deal at $6.5+ million. So I think they're going to bridge Byram. I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow trade him this offseason or 2 seasons from now just because of how loaded they are on the left side. He was solid this year with Rasmus Dahlin, but like anybody can be solid with Rasmus Dahlin even if they're playing on their offhand. So just 2 years. $5 million. Don't think that he has that much leverage. The underlying numbers are pretty bad with Bowen Byram. Capo Caco. I'm going to go 4 years, $5.25 million. When looking at him in Seattle, 30 points in 49 games while being very strong defensively. You give him solid middle 6 money for his age 25 to 29 seasons or 28-year-old seasons. Perfectly worth that. And if you're Capo Caco, then you can just cash out on the unrestricted free agency market. So it's not that much of a risk for the Kraken, but it can be a solid reward if he can be a consistent 55, 60-point, 2-way top 6 forward like we think is possible. In worst case, he's already set a floor of being a 35 to 40 point good defensive guy. So yeah, 4 years, $5.25 million. Mason McTavish up next from the Anaheim Ducks. Pat Verbeek has not been too big on giving these long-term extensions to his young guys. So I'm going to go 4 years, $6.5 million. Some sizable AAV, similarly to what Trevor Zegras was 2 seasons ago, 3 years at 5.75. McTavish this year, 22 goals, 30 assists, 52 points at age 22. Definitely needs to work on the defensive side of his game, and hopefully Joel Quenneville can help from that. But he's already a $5 to $6 million player. McTavish gets some term, 4 years, 6.5, and then when he's 26 years old, he can get a bag. I believe that would take him, or maybe he would still be a restricted free agent at that point, but still would get a big thing if he can continue to develop and turn into the 65, 70 point guy that we think is definitely possible for him. Next up for my New York Islanders, Noah Dobson. This is the second to last player we have. 4 years at $7.75 million. Heading into the season, you thought an 8x8 by 8.5 when you saw what a Brock Faber got this summer. Not really the case anymore, considering he went from 70 points down to 39 and 71. His defensive numbers analytically improved, but I thought he was pretty bad defensively this season. If they're not going to trade him, I would not have the confidence to give him, if he rightfully so after that 70-point season, he's going to want an 8 by 8.5. I would not give him to that. I would still be willing to give him north of $7 million per year as long as it's not that much term. I think a 4 year 7.75 would be solid for both parties, would take him to unrestricted free agency. So if he does get back on track, then the Islanders will have to pay up. But if not, it doesn't turn into some brutal contract over the next 6 to 7 years. So 4 years, 7.75. And then lastly, I have Luke Hughes. I'm going to go 3 years, $5.75 million. When Dougie Hamilton went down, he was absolutely fantastic. 23 points in the final 24 games to finish with 44 and 71. I think the Devils, they probably should go bridge here just because I think they're going to be contending for the next 3 to 4 years. They'll have some money obviously come off the books once this deal is over to give Luke Hughes his mega deal. And I don't think he's proved enough compared to a Nico Hischier or a Jack Hughes in terms of saying 8 years, $8 million, we're ready to roll. I believe in Luke Hughes. I think he is going to be a stud. But if I was the Devils, I'd maybe prioritize, because unlike some of these other teams where you just pay him now and you just let it age, the Devils do have a lot of expectations the next 3 to 4 years. So bridge Luke Hughes, 3 years, $5.75 million. Well, let me know in the comments. What do you think about this? What do you think about these contract projections? Were there some guys that you would disagree with? They should give them a long-term deal instead of bridge. Some guys that got a long-term deal that they should bridge. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.